folks. I wanted to do a video here talking about three, concerns that I have with dogs that do board and trains, and, making this video to help set up clients for success, whether you just brought the dog to a board and train, you're considering doing it, or maybe you're getting the dog back from a board and train, and you want to know, what are some of the concerns that a trainer has when the dog goes back home from a board and train? And I would say first and foremost concern that I have, it's going to probably surprise you guys. It's actually, it's emotional. When the dog stays here with us for a long period of time, typically we see the dog is very trainable. Typically we see that the dog, a lot of their behavior has been inadvertently reinforced by the owners. And although we explain to the owners, that they need to change these behaviors, we typically suggest books, we give out videos, we produce a lot of content, and we're happy to answer questions for people. But, for example, we'll have a dog come back from a boarding trainer. The owner comes to pick the dog up, and the dog's sitting there like this, super calm. And the owner is the dog seems sad. The dog seems depressed. And, we attempt to explain to the owner, the dog's not depressed. Dogs are really pretty much designed to just chill and relax most of the time. That dog you had before that you thought was excited was actually borderline kind of anxious. And it's actually not fun for them to be in that very aroused state all the time when they don't live on a ranch or live, herding sheep all day, where that's going to create biological fulfillment for them. Or maybe the owner, we correct the dog, we discipline the dog, and then the owner sees the dog display stress after the correction, and the owner's oh my God, look, they look stressed. And it's yeah, I know they look stressed, but they're going to be stressed because they thought that this behavior they were doing was good. And now they're having to really think about what they're doing and having to process and go, oh man, maybe that wasn't a good idea. Or maybe we don't fulfill the dog right away. We don't spoil the dog as they used to. And then the owner's feeling really sad. Hey, why can't I just have toys out all the time? Why can't I just pet the dog all the time? Why can't I just let the dog jump all over me like a freaking trampoline? Why is it that I can't just give in? The dog's crying. Why can't I let him out of the crate? The dog's barking. Why can't I let him go up to a dog? And so emotionally, we see that it's really hard for people to set boundaries with their dogs. They emotionally feel very connected to their dog. They feel very sad, very anxious, very frustrated. And so they, typically they give in to what the dog is impulsively kind of asking them to do. And so that's one of the concerns I have, is just that, we're not going to be able to be a little bit emotionally objective and take a step back and kind of go, okay, here are my emotions that I'm having. This is the dog and what the dog is doing. And now I need to think about things, probably ask the trainer what they think. And I need to kind of keep my emotions in check here because, let's face it, guys, I've been doing this for 10 years. I don't even know how these dogs feel. I mean, they can't tell me in English, so I can guess. And if I'm not careful, even after this many years, I could, project my own emotions onto the dog. I could go, oh man, that dog's being stubborn. Oh man, that dog's being aggressive. Oh man, that dog is... No, guys. Eric, you're just having a bad day. Eric, you're just frustrated. That's all. Oh, okay. So that's one of the concerns, folks, is we're just not going to have the emotional objectivity that's going to be necessary to take a step back from our dogs and, reflect and realize, yeah, it's probably some element of emotions that got us to this point to begin with, that emotionally we got involved in this cycle with the dog where our emotions are getting triggered and, making us do things that are influencing the dog. The second thing that I see is it's really hard for people to understand, how much what we're doing in a board and train is really not doing. It's really more about not doing. And that there is just so much time where the dog is just chilling. The dog is just relaxing. And at first, yes, this is something that we set the dog up for. We tell them, go to your crate. We tell them, go to your bed. We have them tied back. We have them in a dog run. We have them wait every time they come in and out of a doorway. We don't pet them and get them all riled up and excited for no reason. If we play with them, we're very clear, hey, it's time to play. And when we're done playing, hey, it's time to calm down. But it's hard for people to understand that, typically, here, a dog is calm 21 hours a day. They're very relaxed. 21 hours a day, they're like this. They're like that. They're like these dogs that you see here. They're just moseying around. They're just hanging out being dogs. 1 hour a day on average. Yeah, the dog gets excited. The dog goes crazy. The dog runs around. Dog, whatever, goes crazy. And more than that, too. I mean, if we lived on a ranch, for example, yeah, my dog would be running around 8 hours a day herding cattle. In times of my life when I was very active, yeah, my dog and I, we did 2-hour runs every single day. But at this time in my life, I have a lot of stuff going on. I got multiple dogs, multiple businesses. Yeah, my dog, 30 minutes, 1 hour a day. That's how much exercise she needs. And every dog, if things are structured properly, folks, that's all it's going to take. 30 minutes to 1 hour a day of them getting exercise. And the rest of the time, they're going to be calm. But it's really hard for people to understand that it takes a lot of not doing to get the dog to this point. It takes a lot of just letting them be and reinforcing, hey, you're just going to be here and you're going to be calm. And that's all. Nothing's happening. And you're going to be here for however long you're going to be here for. So that structure, that default energy level in the household, in the car, in the yard of just being calm, I think that's hard for people to comprehend. They're so used to having a dog that is constantly on edge, constantly aroused, constantly pushing them, pressuring them, crying, whining, barking. And when they experience a dog that's like just sitting here doing nothing, they, maybe experience some void. I don't know what to do. It's like, guys, just relax and, imagine what it would be like where you really only have to worry about your dog's needs like 30 minutes to 1 hour a day. The rest of the time, they're just relaxing. They're not worried about you coming home. They're not worried about you leaving. They're not destroying your stuff. And it's going to be hard for people. If you have multiple dogs, you have multiple people in the household. People can struggle and go, oh my God, I feel like the dog's being taken away from me. It's like, well, no, actually the dog is actually being given back to you with the hope that they'll really one day be able to go everywhere with you and be included in your life. The goal is to be able to have the dog be able to do more and have it be very minimal work for you. So if you do have an extra hour and you go, I want to walk, it's going to be like, man, it's going to be so easy. Why wouldn't I bring the dog on a walk? It's like as easy as walking by myself. In fact, it's much more enjoyable because I have a dog there. So that's the thing. I think the structure, it's really hard for people to comprehend, how much structure, how much downtime are these people expecting my dog to have? And muggles. The third thing I think that's hard for people to understand, which is just like the rewards, like that you're not going to be able to keep giving the dog affection, opening doorways, giving them a toy, giving them food, giving them treats, giving them walks for free, but especially not for doing bad behaviors. You just can't keep petting the dog when they're crying. You just can't keep opening the door when the dog scratches at the door. You just can't keep letting the dog jump on you and then petting them afterwards. You can't keep pulling out the toy when the dog barks at you. You can't. You're not going to be able to do that anymore. You're going to have to really start saying, hey, look, if you want something and I have it, you're going to need to do something for me, and then I'll give you the thing. But I can no longer just give you these things for, doing essentially annoying behaviors. And so that can be hard for people to essentially stop spoiling the dog without really being conscious of what, are you rewarding? There's nothing wrong spoiling the dog in a sense. If you have them do the right thing and you give them all those things, like the dog will behave really well. But if you don't have the dog first do the right behavior and you give them all that stuff, yeah, the dog's going to become a train wreck. And that's the last thing I want to talk about. Not a train wreck, but the opposite of that. Discipline, setting boundaries, consequences, punishment. Folks, like, you can't just let a dog do behaviors and have no negative consequences and just think they're going to keep doing them. Now, whether or not that is just having so much structure in the household, like I was talking about earlier, where it's just like, no, dude, you're not able to dig in the yard because I don't leave you in the yard that long. And you're not able to bark in the house because I don't leave you roaming in the house anymore. And you're not able to bark at the mailman because I don't leave you roaming in the yard unattended anymore. And you're not able to bark in this yard because if you bark, I'm just going to immediately put you away. Or I'm going to, remove myself from you, and I'm not going to reward that stuff, or perhaps if we're using, the prong collar, we're using the electric collar, we're using, squirt bottle here or something. No, we are going to have to follow protocol of, hey, saying no, having a consequence, and doing it in a way where we're really keeping track of, hey, is this actually succeeding? Like, is this actually stopping the behavior tomorrow and next week? And, if it's not stopping the behavior tomorrow, or it's not stopping the behavior next week, we do need to talk with the trainer, and we really need to figure out, hey, how do we discipline this dog effectively? How do we tell them, you have to stop doing this forever? But it can be really hard for people to discipline the dog. It can be extremely difficult for them to emotionally, as I talked about earlier, set those boundaries. It can be hard for them to cognitively understand. hey, look, like this is just a temporary thing. And yes, short term, this sucks, but long term, it's going to be better for me and better for the dog. And so, those are the things that I think are concerns when it comes to a dog coming to board and train. And, is very common for people to struggle with these things. And to be honest, that's why we don't take dogs anymore for 4 or 6 weeks, 24/7. We take dogs typically Monday through Friday so that the dog can go home on the weekends and we can have a chance to touch base with the owners and really remind them throughout the process of what we told them in the very beginning, which is, hey, this is going to be dependent on your ability to reward and reinforce and correct and structure your household. And if we're not seeing the results that we think we're going to need from you, then, we're probably going to suggest we take a different training program, or we're going to suggest that, we commit to a lot more time of the dog staying with us. Because if we see the dog go home in 2 days and then they come back and they're unglued, we're probably going to say, hey, this is going to take a lot more weeks, or hey, let's switch the training sessions because, we got to spend our time training you on what you're going to need to do. So, whether it's emotions that are coming up that's difficult for people, whether it's really struggling with the structure in the household and literally just how much time we're spending having the dog do nothing, whether it's having to stop spoiling the dog and being really consistent on, hey, opening a doorway, petting, touching, talking, looking, walking, playing, it's all a reward to your dog, and you cannot give them that reward unless they have earned it. That can be a struggle for people. And then lastly, discipline, using the electronics, collars, the prong collar, squirt bottle, a bonker, even just disciplining through structure in the household, which honestly, my favorite way to discipline is just by removing the dog from me and not spending time with a dog that is not in the right headspace, in the right mentality, not even giving the dog access to my amazing property here and my amazing life when they don't listen to me. So remember, as always, folks, we don't blame them, we train them. And if we love them, we lead them. Of course, we're always available to help you online and in person here. And of course, you can find my poetry book, Loving, Leading, and Losing, Stories from the Dogs That Train Me, on Amazon. So I hope you found this video helpful, and I'll talk to you next time. Take care.